Okay, I have a review for a system optimizer for Mac called MacOptimizer 3. It's a new version 3.0, which recently came out. If we have a look at the About box here, 3.0, made by 128-bit Technologies or MacAppware.com. When you first start it up, you're greeted with this introduction sort of screen where you can get to their Facebook, Twitter. You can also see the capacity of your hard drive, use space, available space, and space recovered by using the software. Now, it isn't just to free space such as clean up cache, things like that. It is also to do tweaks, various other maintenancey things. And let's just sort of have a look. So we've got free cache. So that's the first tab. You can clear system cache by ticking these boxes. Then you can select if you want to clean it all or various categories here, like library, user library, system library, things like that. You can untick if you don't want it. You can choose the font cache, so you can clean all the font caches or various ones such as just system or just Adobe, just Microsoft. You can also flush the DNS cache from here as well. Then you have browser cache. You can free the browser cache here from either clearing Chrome, clearing Firefox, and if you clear Firefox, you get a choice here of only cookies or all. You don't get a just cache option here, you get reset Safari. Then we have optimization, which is more sort of tweaking, but not quite. It's more things like force emptying your trash, so you empty your trash securely, or you can repair your disk permissions. And this is something I recommend you do fairly regularly, because it's surprising how often that can happen where you find that actually your disk permissions do need repaired on Mac. You of course don't have to use this program for that. You can of course use a built-in disk utility in Mac, but still, if you've got to use this for other things, you may as well do it all in one. I don't see why not. You can update pre-bindings, vacuum your mail, Apple Mail index. You can rebuild your Spotlight index, and that, of course, is Spotlight up here. It has an index of all your files on the computer. You can rebuild that index if maybe it isn't searching correctly. So I have had that once. I think it might be just been on a beta build of OS 10. But I have had it once where it wasn't searching properly. Spotlight, you'd search and it wouldn't find pretty much any files. So that may be a way to solve that problem if you have it. You can also choose, select it, then choose from here if you have more than one disk. I mentioned force empty the trash. You can fix slow wake if you have that problem. I haven't used this feature because I haven't got a slow wake problem. But if you're having that sort of problem, you can always do it from here. You can empty your iPhoto trash. Of course, you can do it from within the program, I think. You can also clean up your open with. So then we can go to memory hogs. This is purely memory. So you get a little graph showing how much memory is in use. Physical memory, you can see my MacBook Pro has 8 gigs of physical memory. Then you can see more specific stats, such as amount used, 6 gigs for some reason at the moment. Seems a bit drastic. Oh no, I know why it probably is. It's probably because I'm using a screen recorder to record a video of the screen. So that's going to use quite a bit of memory really. Virtual memory, it's using over 8 gig, nearly 9 gig of virtual memory. And you've got various other stats here as well, including a CPU usage here. So the CPU, you can see available, I've got about 75% available of the CPU. And you can purge file cache from here. You can analyze. Let's actually click analyze. Hopefully doing some of these things like this isn't going to stop my screen recorder. So I need to be a bit careful here. I don't think what I just did has messed it up. Hopefully not. Voila helper and voila. These two things are my screen recorder. So where you can see that is using the most because I'm recording the screen. So as I mentioned a minute ago, that is going to use quite a fair amount of memory. Then iTunes I have open. I have Finder will probably always be open. Spotlight will, Dock will, Notification Center, login window. You can refresh and close. You then have optimizations for your startup. So you can manage your items that automatically start up when you log into your Mac. You can add them from here and remove them from a list if there's any showing up. Battery is an interesting feature, but well, anyway, let me just tell you what it is first. Maximize the life of your laptop battery when unplugged. So when you're on battery, you're unplugged from the mains power, you're just using a battery, you can try and preserve a bit of battery before you have to charge again. So you can tick to turn off Bluetooth if you don't need it. If you're using a Bluetooth keyboard and mouse, etc., don't do that, of course. But if you're not using Bluetooth and you want to save battery, tick this. You can stop it from doing a spotlight index, so it won't do it on battery, it'll only do it while you're plugged in. You can also turn off wireless networking if you're not using the internet, or if you're using an older Mac which has an Ethernet, and you're not using the wireless, you can always tick this. And wireless and Bluetooth should help a lot with battery life. You can also, interestingly, adjust your backlit keyboard so you can make it a little dimmer so it isn't using as much power. Same with this display brightness. However, the problem is with this, you tick all you want, you tick these things here, adjust it here, apply. Now what happens, that I've found anyway, is that when you're on battery and you want to use this, you open the program, hit apply, and it does those settings. Then if you were to plug in your mains power, you'd still have these settings on. You'd have to go back to this program, untick the things you don't want turned off, such as Bluetooth, turn that back on, hit apply. It would be good if this program had a way to automatically detect when you're using the battery, switch your settings you've selected here on. Then when it detects you've plugged back into the mains power and you're no longer using your battery, it then goes back to regular settings. At the moment, it seems that you have to go to this yourself, adjust the settings, turn it on. Then when you plug back in and you don't want these settings anymore, go back to the program, turn the things you want back on, off, then hit apply, and you have to go back and forth. It's almost not worth it in a way, because you could often forget to even do that. So I don't really like this feature as it is at the moment. I think it needs to be more automatic. You then have an analyze button, so you can see how much battery time you have remaining before you need to recharge. In this case, I have the power plugged in, so it's 100%, it's not running down. You can also see various other little stats here. You can also tick to show battery life in up here or not, which you can also do in system preferences. You then have cleanup. So if you have some things you never ever use, such as Apple Dictionary, you can remove it. You can remove language dictionaries. If you never use screensavers, you can remove default screensavers and desktop pictures. And if you never use GarageBand, you can remove the sampler files, and this will free up some disk space. I'm just going to leave this alone because for a start, I tend to use things like the dictionary and at least the desktop wallpaper sometimes, even if I don't use screensaver. So I just leave this alone personally, but that you do have this option should you need it. You can also, in the bottom right, you can also see a list of files in your downloads folder, and you can tick to select the ones you want to remove, to delete. Of course, you can always just go to your downloads folder and delete it yourself, but it's here should you need it. You then have maintenance, and this basically is to run maintenance on your Mac to get it running smoothly. So you can select from here and select daily, weekly, monthly. I just tend to, when I do it occasionally. You probably don't want to do it too often, maybe once a month, but I just do all occasionally, hit apply. You'll find this sort of thing in other maintenance programs as well. You then have system tweaks, because this isn't just removing excess files, this is adjusting actual settings. So there are some files, system files, which are hidden by default on Mac. You can show them instead. So if you need to edit a file that you know is hidden, you can do it by enabling it here. You enable hidden files and find those files. You're probably not going to need that very often though, but it's there if you need it. You also have various other options such as show the user library folder. That is quite handy because in one of the recent versions, I can't remember if it's Mavericks or Yosemite, which one it was, the user library folder used to be easily accessible and visible, but then they decided to make it to hide it. So you'd have to go to Finder, go up here somewhere to like go, then type in the folder name and manually sort of type it in and go there. It was hidden. So by ticking on here, it shows up again, and you can just go to your user library folder and find files, add files, remove files if you need to. Again, if you're just a casual desktop user, you may never need to actually use that folder. That is why they've hidden it. but sometimes you might, especially if you have a problem with a program. So there it is. You can enable it here, and if you don't need it very often, you enable it when you want it, then turn it back off. Always show scroll bars. So in more recent versions, such as Yosemite, El Capitan, the scroll bars, there's none in this window, but say there's a scroll bar here. As you're scrolling on a web page, say, it would appear as you're scrolling, then when you stopped, it would disappear. If you hate that feature and like the old way where the scroll bars are permanently visible, you can always turn them on here. There's various other settings as well, such as disable autocorrect, force dictionary to use one window, etc. I tend to leave most of this as default, though if you find verifying disk images every time you want to download a disk image that you install or downloaded or whatever, if you find it annoying, because sometimes if it's a big file it can take a long time, you can turn it off here, and that may help speed things up for you. Okay, Finder tweaks. You have pretty standard sort of things here, such as disable window animations, show the status bar. You can allow text selection in quick look. So say there's a text file, you hit space and get quick look up. Normally you couldn't, say, select a paragraph and copy it. If you turn, where is it? Here. If you turn that on, text will be selectable in quick look windows. So you can do things like that. I just tend to leave it off. I don't really need that. And that's pretty standard stuff there. Dock, show indicator lights for open applications, which is such as these little dots down here underneath the icons. If you don't like that, you can turn it off here. I like it. I have it on. Don't animate the opening applications from dock. I like animations. If you have a bit of an older computer, maybe finding these systems slow, you can turn off these various animations. I don't have a problem with speed and things like that, so I just leave it on because I like the little animations and it's not really affecting me having them on. You can speed up mission control animations if you need to. You can don't show the dashboard as a space. You can restore dock to its default settings. You can show only running applications, not ones like this one, which is closed, so it's still there. If you select it here, it won't be visible. Also, an interesting little automatic type of feature here is empty trash when size reaches. So instead of having to manually empty your trash all the time, you can say, okay, if it gets bigger than a gig or 500 megabytes or whatever, it'll then automatically empty the trash itself, which could be a handy little feature. Again, I don't bother with it, but I can see how it could be handy. Safari, set homepage to blank, about blank for faster loading. I've ticked that. I don't think it's going to affect me because I have tabs remembered. So I have my Facebook and my Twitter pinned, because in the new El Capitan and Safari 9 you can pin tabs that you use most frequently, such as your social media, to the left in a little tab, smaller tab that always opens, and I have those two pinned, and so it tends to just open on Facebook when I open the browser. So I don't think really having this ticked is going to make a difference for the way I use the browser. But again, I just have it on, and it may help depending upon how you use your browser. You can hide the bookmark bar by default. You can enable spell checking. I can't remember if that was on by default or not, but I like to have spell checking on in pretty much all programs, especially browsers when you might be typing a post and want to make sure it gets checked. So I have that on. Other system tweaks, you can disable AirDrop if you never use it. You can save screenshots to the desktop automatically instead of whatever. You can expand the save panel by default. You can use plain text mode for new text edit documents. There isn't really much here really to look at. Then you have Language Buster. Now, a lot of programs and things come with lots of languages built in. Well, that's just taking up disk space, so we can say select all and get rid of these languages you may never use, such as Arabic. But if we scroll down, because we're on an English language system, all of the English ones, such as just English and English United Kingdom, English United States, are grayed out so that it won't remove it, it won't mess up your system. It'll only remove these ones that you'll never need unless you do deal with multiple languages. But me, myself, I only deal in English. I never use other languages, so I can select all these, hit apply and wait, and it will go through the system, removing all these extra files such as French, German, etc., and it will save you a bit of disk space. Now, the one thing I have noticed, you have Language Buster. A lot of other optimization sort of programs like this have two sort of settings similar to this. You have the Language sort of Buster, though it wouldn't be called Language Buster in another program probably. But you have a option to get rid of all the excess languages, but then you also have, and perhaps in another tab, or even in the same window with the language removal, you also have the option to remove excess platforms. What I mean by that is I can't remember what other programs call it off the top of my head, but basically it removes all these extra, well, I say platforms, like the old PowerPC, because new Macs use Intel and Intel 64. If you have a bit of an older Mac, maybe it won't be Intel 64, it may just be Intel 32, which I think was called i86. Anyway, the point is that new Macs use Intel, older Macs use other processors such as PowerPC, and some programs, especially if they've been around for a while, may have lots of platforms built into the applications, such as PowerPC, which you don't need. It's just taking up disk space, etc. Well, a lot of programs that have these Language Buster sort of optimizations also have that sort of platform remover. I can't remember what it's called, but it goes through like this does, and it doesn't just go through removing languages you don't want, such as French. It'll go through and remove platforms you don't need, such as PowerPC. This program is lacking that, so I think as well as Language Buster, it should have whatever you call that, basically Platform Buster. So it is missing that one feature I would really think needs to be in this, because a lot of other programs do have it. And the last tab is Desktop Jeannie, and all that does is unclutters your desktop. So say you are one of these people that have hundreds and hundreds of different icons and files on your desktop. What this will do is it will go through, grab all of them off your desktop and put it in a folder called Desktop Jeannie. Then inside Desktop Jeannie folder, it then puts them in other document folders. So say you have a bunch of text files on your desktop, it'll put it in Desktop Jeannie, Docs. You have some movie files, it'll put it in Media. You have some archives such as zips, it'll put it in Compressed. And it helps just tidy up your desktop. And that will also help with speed, because if you have too many icons on your desktop, it will actually slow down logging in or booting up. So you have this option. You can exclude items you don't want to be put in this folder. So say you have, I'm not sure what type of file to give, but say for some reason you have .gif, so .gif, and you always want those on your desktop. You never want them ordered away into your folder. You can exclude it down here, or if you have a separate folder here of stuff that you don't want to put into here, or you don't want that folder to be put in here, you can say you had a folder here called My Documents. You could say, okay, I don't want this folder, My Documents, to be touched by Desktop Jeannie, and it will stay on your desktop and it will not be put in here. You can organize by date, type, or simple move. I would just do it by one of these two. I'd just stick to something like organize by date, and then you can customize even further from here and hit apply. So there's basically also kind of tutorial and walkthrough of MacOptimizer version 3.0. Now, what's my feedback? Well, first off, as far as I am aware, there is no demo, trial, or whatever available, and I don't like to spend money on programs until I've had a little look at them and tried them for myself, and I'm sure I'm not the only person out there like that. So I would start off by recommending that there is some kind of a demo or trial available for this. A lot of other programs have it, this does not. Second, this is not a Retina interface, because I can see on my 13-inch Retina late 2013 MacBook Pro here, 13-inch, that these icons up here, especially the text, look a bit fuzzy and blurry. I noticed that straight away on this laptop here. And so I opened another program I got. Well, actually, it's a trial of another program I got. And it has an option where you tick it, and the tick box basically says, highlight any images in applications that are not Retina, and it highlights them in red. So I did that and opened this program, and all of this was highlighted red up the top, all these icons. I think all this bar down here and this image here was highlighted in red. So this is not a Retina interface, and it shows, at least on a Retina, if you are actually on a device that is Retina, such as a Retina MacBook Pro, the icons look a little fuzzy. So I'd recommend that there's a trial, that the interface is updated to be a Retina interface. I recommend they have Platform Buster. Like I said, I cannot think of quite the right description for that, but I recommend a Platform Buster as well as a Language Buster. And the only other thing was the battery option. It'd be good if it was automatic. So that is a trial or demo would be nice, a Retina interface, an automatic option for the battery, and a Platform Buster. So those are my suggestions and the things I've noticed about it. Of course, a Retina interface isn't going to stop you from using it. It's still a usable program. It would just look a bit nicer and more modern and up to date and cleaner if it was Retina, because it looks a little fuzzy. So yeah, basically, judge for yourself. You've seen it. I've walked you through each of the tabs. So even though it's not a trial, you have seen what the tabs are. You have seen what the options are. So judge for yourself. And if this isn't enough, just seeing it, you want to use it yourself, maybe email or contact the people who make this and say you'd like to see a trial. Maybe they'll do it. But that is my observations, my suggestions, and I've walked you through it, showed you, and you can make up your own mind. Normally, I would recommend that you make up your own mind by going and downloading the trial and giving it a good thorough test for yourself. Unfortunately, I can't do that with this, but still, I like it. There's just a few things I'd like added or changed, but it's a good optimizer, and there is no subscription. Unlike some of these other, occasionally you'll see another optimizer program for Mac, and they'll charge you $30 a year or $30 a month or something like that, which I never use those programs. I prefer to buy a program outright and then upgrade to new major versions if I feel necessary. There are other programs, though, that are like this, which charge monthly, and I don't like that, and I'm sure a lot of other people don't. Well, that's fine with this one. This is one of the programs which is just a set fee. So if you get MacOptimizer 3, I think it's about $29. I'll put it in the description, and that's it. Unless they bring out a version 4.0, then you'd buy that if you want to. But there's no subscription. It's just a flat fee, one-off for version 3X. And it does work with the new macOS 10 version 10.11 El Capitan. It has been updated for the latest Mac operating system. So thanks for watching. Please like and share this video. And if you could do me a huge favor and subscribe to my channel, it only takes a few seconds and will help me out a lot. Thanks.